Too many families were experiencing crime as our nation witnessed the highest increase in murders in recent history. Today's new data submitted to the FBI confirms that our dedicated efforts and collaborative partnerships with law enforcement are working. Americans are safer now than when we took office. Last year, we saw the largest ever one-year decrease in the homicide rate, which now stands 16% below its 2020 level. Violent crime is at a near 50-year low. Our progress is continuing this year and builds on substantial decreases during the previous years of our administration. Before heading to the United Nations General Assembly, President Biden met with the President of the United Arab Emirates, Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed.
We also will discuss our efforts to end the war in Gaza and a number of regional issues. I've been briefed on the latest developments in Israel and Lebanon. My team is in constant contact with their counterparts, and we're working to de-escalate in a way that allows people to return to their homes safely.
Vice President Harris met with the UAE president separately. This week, Kamala Harris will visit Pennsylvania, Arizona, and California. She'll return to Nevada on Sunday. This weekend, Vice President Harris accepted CNN's invitation to debate Donald Trump again on October 23rd.
Join me on the debate stage. Let's have another debate. There's more to talk about, and the voters of America deserve to hear the conversations that I think we should be having on substance, on issues, on policies. What's your plan? What's my plan? And we should have another one before Election Day.
Donald Trump, who lost the first debate against Kamala Harris, said this.
It's too late to do another. I'd love to in many ways, but it's too late. The voting is cast.
It ain't too late. That was Donald Trump in North Carolina on Saturday, where he continued to not respond to the shocking reporting about his favorite candidate for governor of that state, Mark Robinson. That CNN report revealed Mark Robinson's alleged pro-slavery and pro-Hitler comments on a porn site, as well as this disturbing anecdote. Quote, Robinson graphically described his own sexual arousal as an adult from the memory of secretly peeping on women in public gym showers as a 14-year-old. Robinson recounted the story as a memory he said he still fantasized about. There were also extremely graphic descriptions of an alleged affair with his wife's sister. Today, Mark Robinson hit the campaign trail in North Carolina. Mark Robinson has denied the report and threatened to sue CNN. Today, the Republican Governors Association announced that it will no longer spend money on ads to elect Mark Robinson. And this follows yesterday's reporting that 4 top campaign staffers had stepped down. As NBC News reported on Friday, Donald Trump has yet to rescind his endorsement of the man he called, quote, Martin Luther King on steroids. On Saturday, Trump's running mate, J.D. Vance, said that he's not even sure if he believes the allegations against Mark Robinson.
The allegations are pretty far out there, of course, but I know that allegations aren't necessarily reality.
Do you believe him that those were not his posts?
I don't not believe him. I don't believe him. I just think that you have to let these things sometimes play out in the court of public opinion.
In a statement, the Harris-Walz campaign said, quote, it shouldn't be hard to condemn someone who calls themselves a Nazi, but Trump and Vance are standing by their man because they know Mark Robinson will be a loyal MAGA soldier in their crusade to rip women's freedoms away from them. Joining us now, Anderson Clayton, chair of the North Carolina Democratic Party. Anderson, welcome back to the last word. J.D. Vance held a rally in North Carolina today, and I want to play for you what he said about Mark Robinson in Charlotte today.
What he said or didn't say is ultimately between him and the people of North Carolina. The people of North Carolina are going to make that decision. Now, look, I've seen some of the statements. I haven't seen them all. Some of them are pretty gross, to put it mildly. Mark Robinson says that those statements are false, that he didn't actually speak them. So I think it's up to Mark Robinson to make his case to the people of North Carolina that those weren't his statements, and I'm going to let him make that case. A sex scandal in North Carolina is between the lieutenant governor and the people of North Carolina.
So, Anderson, what are you hearing from North Carolina voters about the report linking disturbing comments to Republican Mark Robinson?
Well, North Carolinians know that this is the same man that's been our current lieutenant governor for the last 4 years, unfortunately. And so it's not a surprise to anybody here on the ground. What I will say is that J.D. Vance and Donald Trump are going to have to defend why they're touting around his endorsement of them and why they have endorsed him and are not rescinding those endorsements. Mark Robinson is an extension of Donald Trump, and he represents the Republican Party right now in this entire state, one that would only take us backwards if he were to ever become governor in our state, but also the fact that we are now under a Republican supermajority right now in our General Assembly, that if they were to keep that next year are only going to further enact harmful policies that Mark Robinson has endorsed to himself in the governor's or on the governor's trail this year.
Well, what impact do you believe this will have on Josh Stein's race?
It'll make sure that we see a successful Democratic victory like we have the last 7 out of 8 governor's races in North Carolina. And we're hoping that it's going to make sure it carries down ballot candidates too, like people that have tied themselves to Mark Robinson. You know, our lieutenant governor, or the guy that's running for lieutenant governor right now, Hal Weatherman in North Carolina, has tied himself by even putting himself on yard signs with Mark Robinson across the state. And, you know, he's yet to come out and say that he would rescind his endorsement of someone that calls himself, quote, a Nazi in this state right now, whereas you've got Senator Rachel Hunt, someone that has had a legacy of public service in her family right to the state of North Carolina, who's running to make sure that we propel North Carolina forward in terms of public education in our state. I mean, I think it's crystal clear who voters are going to go into the ballot box this year and choose. We're going to choose experience over extremism every time in our state.
And do you see this also having an impact on Vice President Harris's race in North Carolina?
Absolutely. Mark Robinson and Donald Trump fully endorsed a statewide abortion ban in North Carolina. You've heard Donald Trump say that he would like to leave this decision up to the states. Well, he's endorsed the statewide abortion ban that Republicans in our General Assembly instituted in 2023. I mean, right now, we're seeing a Republican Party that doesn't represent an actual conservation party. They're more about taking rights away from people than they are about the real kitchen table issues that folks are dealing with right now in our state, like whether or not we have affordable housing, like whether or not living wages are rising in North Carolina. And those are the issues that we hear people really talking about right now, especially at the doors. And Mark Robinson doesn't do anything for those, and neither does Donald Trump.
Vice President Harris drew massive crowds in North Carolina this month. 17,000 people attended her rally in Greensboro. Can you tell us about the Democratic ground game in the Tar Heel state?
We're making sure we're running a full state strategy in North Carolina and not leaving a county behind when it comes to getting that statewide turnout that we need to get Vice President Harris across the line in a state where, you know, Joe Biden lost it in 2020 by a 1% margin. That 74,000 votes is what that looked like. And a field margin is that 1 to 3%. And we're making sure that to get that ground game back, we're knocking doors every single weekend in our state. We hit 14,000 doors this weekend in a judicial day of action that we had, so highlighting our Supreme Court race with Justice Allison Riggs and our Court of Appeals races, Judge Carolyn Thompson, Ed Eldred, and Commissioner Martin Moore, who are running to take 3 seats on the Court of Appeals this year and make sure that we're getting Democrats back elected in our court races, quite frankly, because we see how that's impacting every other level of the ballot right now and gerrymandering in North Carolina.
North Carolina Democratic Party Chair Anderson Clayton, thank you very much for coming to The Last Word.
Thank you.
Days after Republican Mark Robinson's campaign began imploding, the Lincoln Project released this ad, which perfectly captures the absurdity of a Republican scandal in the era of Trump.
Have you heard the latest about North Carolina Republican candidate for governor Mark Robinson? It's all true. He's been seen in public with a convicted felon. Not just any felon, but a felon who's found liable for sexual assault by his hometown jury. He even praises the felon.
On this stage today, I am endorsing Donald J. Trump as the President of the United States of America.
But a weirdo. He loves the felon, and the felon loves the weirdo.
This is Martin Luther King on steroids.
Everything you've heard about Mark Robinson and Donald Trump is true. They deserve each other. But North Carolina and America deserve better.
Joining us now, Stuart Stevens, a veteran of 5 Republican presidential campaigns and a senior advisor at the Lincoln Project. He's also the author of The Conspiracy to End America: 5 Ways My Old Party is Driving Our Democracy to Autocracy. Stuart, always great to see you. If you accept Trump, you have to accept anything. Is that the moral of the story of Mark Robinson?
Yeah, you take Thom Tillis, the senator from North Carolina. This is a normal human being who had a very successful business career. I cannot believe that he doesn't feel soiled by this. It's the bargain that being a Republican now demands of you. How much of yourself and your principles and your values and your dignity and self-respect are you willing to sacrifice to what? Elect a felon? When I was first drawn to this party back in the Reagan era, there was this truism that Republicans like to tout: the character counts. Character is king was the title of a book about Reagan. And it's just proved to be true. And the party now has decided the character doesn't count, and they can't rewrite the world. And people see this. There's not a school system in North Carolina that could hire Donald Trump. He couldn't get a job as a coach. There's not a board in America that would approve him being hired as a CEO. And yet the Republican Party is still with him. And I think they're going to lose and lose badly.
Stuart, according to a new NBC News poll, 57% of voters have a negative view of Project 2025 versus just 4% who see it in a positive light. Donald Trump is trying to distance himself from it. Is it working?
No, the reason it's not working is because this is the stuff that he believes, that was put together by people he believes. And the idea that Donald Trump is not going to take the most extreme view on an issue is contradicted by everything we know about Donald Trump since he started running for office. This is a guy that said that, Mexicans were rapists. It called for a Muslim ban. If there's an extreme position, he will take it. He brags about overturning Roe v. Wade, playing an instrumental role, appointing these judges. So, people just are not that dumb. They see these people, they see these candidates, they get a sense of them. I think that was really the result of that debate, more than any specific exchange or points. It's just one person is a normal, sane human being who cares about governing. The other is just this sort of person who will say anything, who's becoming an increasingly sad figure in American life.
Stuart, I have a video I want to play for you. It's of Donald Trump throwing actual bills at patrons of a grocery store in Pennsylvania today. Watch this.
Here, it's going to go down a little bit. It just went down $100.
Thank you so much.
We'll do that for you from the White House, all right?
Thank you.
All right, bye. Nice seeing you, everybody. Beautiful. They're your kids?
Yeah, they are. 3 boys.
Perfecto. Perfecto. 3 for 3. Bye, everybody.
He seems to be competing with the Fox graphic we showed earlier announcing the great stock market news. But did he violate campaign finance law?
By paying. Look, the entire Trump campaign has been a criminal enterprise from the get-go. And anybody who worked in campaigns, Republican